which makes reading, holding a book, or turning a page difficult or impossible. The content is copyrighted by the respective publishers. For more information, please visit us on the web at nfradioreading.org.
Hello, this is Brian, and for the next hour, I'll be reading from the February 12th, 2026 issue of the East Aurora Advertiser on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. Let's get started. Headline: Holland School District considers tax levy increases 2026-2027 budget, by Shelley Ferrello. The Holland Central School District is preparing a preliminary budget for the 2026-2027 school year that includes proposed 3.68% increase in tax levy, equating to an additional $331,000, officials say during the recent board meeting on Monday, January 26. The increase stays within the district's allowable tax cap formula and does not require supermajority vote. An additional 1% on the levy would amount to $90,000, with any increase above the threshold needing 60% voter approval. Manager Brittany Carey said the district received at least 1% increase in foundation aid, which approximately is $75,000, alongside the $200,000 boost in universal pre-kindergarten, or UPK, funding. UPK funds are reimbursed on the spend and return basis and cannot be allocated elsewhere. Other state aid increases include transportation aid, building aid related to a recent project, and expansive-driven BOCES aid, which reimburses actual expenditures. The district continues to receive nearly $1.8 million of Save Harmless aid, despite a winding gap between the aid that entitles to under formula and the amount actually given. Budget projections also include interfunded transfers to support capital outlays and food service, and expectations that food programs will be used and self-sustaining over time. In addition to voting on the budget, there will be a proposition to purchase 2 new diesel buses, one equipped with a wheelchair lift. Additionally, the district plans to establish a new 10-year capital reserve funding with $2 million cap to provide flexibility in project planning and financing. Final budget presentations are scheduled for March, with the budget hearing on Tuesday, May 5th, and school budget to vote set on May 19th. 2 seats on the school board will be open in the upcoming election. The meeting will be viewed at www.hollandcsd.org. That's www.hollandcsd.org. Our next headline, by Rick Oler: Aurora Starfish Fund raffle to benefit veterans. You know, when 3 of the town's most active service clubs join forces in a fundraiser, good things will always happen. This year, the East Aurora Rotary, Kiwanis, and Lions Club have rallied together in their considerable energy and expenditure and expertise under one umbrella, the Aurora Starfield Fund, to support Western New York veterans. A new raffle with 4 exciting prizes will help Starfish support WNY Heroes Inc. programs. Positive for Heroes, providing service dogs to vets; Hero Bridge, and assisting vets with financial and housing issues; and the Joseph P. Dwyer Veterans Peer Support Project, supporting veterans in a non-clinical setting. The Aurora Starfish Fund was established in 2022 by 3 Aurorans, Chuck Snyder, Doug Markey from the Kiwanis Club, and Rotarian Sean Cunningham, with a mission together to focus on providing targeted financial support to charities that uplift vulnerable members of our community and affected by conflict, and helping to improve lives, and by bringing them from the edge one at a time. With the first raffle, Starfish raised $53,104.21 for children suffering in Ukraine because of the Russian invasion. This year, they hope to do even better with the veterans in Western New York. Toward that end, the company had grown to include Kiwanis, Kathy Eisenberger, Rotaran Pat Shea, and Lions Club members Mike Benzin, Ron Clower, and Diane Andy. Raffle tickets are $50 for three, and our raffle tickets are $50 or three for $100. Are now available online at aurorastarfish.org through the Starfish QR code at Reed's Liquors, the advertiser office, Walloween's, Andrew's Barber Parlor, and Pizza Deleros, as well as from committee members. The drawing will begin on Saturday, May 16th at the West Falls Conservation Club. Grand prize this year will be called the General, is the Band of Brothers Trip for Two, a 9-day all-expenses-paid tour of the important sites of World War II. Band of Brothers starts in Paris, includes visits in beaches of Normandy, Battle of the Bulge sites, American cemeteries, the Eagle Nest in the Germany, and much, much more. The prizes winners will receive $3,000 of spending cash as well. Winners can take $10,000 cash as an alternative as well. Second prize is the Colonial, offering the winner and a guest a 2-night stay at the Hershey, Pennsylvania, a guided tour of Gettysburg Battlefield. The Major, the third prize, is a VIP tickets to the Batavia Air Show with premium outdoor seating and catered dinner in a dining tent. The Captain, fourth prize, invites winners to the National Warplane Museum in Geneseo, where they will take flight with Whiskey 7, or the C-47 airplane that flew paratroopers at Normandy. Markey noted that Starfish has already risen $49,452 from private donors and local businesses, thanks to a list of sponsorships that is veritable of the who's who of local business. The more we raise, the more we help people to give help with these veterans. We have sponsored one dog already and are here in the works to sponsor another, he said. Miss Endy, who has been a training guide for dogs for over 23 years, explained the process of readying these dogs for service. These dogs provide emotional support and some help with the physical disabilities as well, Endy said. The training program takes 16 to 18 months, 10 months in a facility before they are matched with a veteran. From there, they go through the socialization process with trainers and with the veteran as well. Positive, PAWSITIVE, has constant monitoring of the situation to get dogs and veterans comfortable with each other, weekly, then monthly, then as needed. For the first year, Positive will pay for food. It's an expensive process, about $7,500 for a dog to be matched with a veteran with PTSD, more for dogs matched with vets with special needs. Heroes Bridge and the Veterans Peer Support Group project speaks to severely underestimated financial, emotional, social, and psychological needs of veterans, many of whom suffer out of sight with no support group at all, which is a good way to explain why the fund is called Starfish. The story goes that an older man was spotted a boy walking along the beach and returning a stranded starfish into the ocean. When questioned, the boy said, "The tide is going out. If I didn't throw it back, they'll die." The old man replied, "Don't you realize there are miles of beach and thousands of starfish? You can't make a difference." The boy listened, then picked up another starfish, returned it to the water, and said, "I made a difference with that one." Our next headline: Class of 1975 donates to EMW. The Iroquois Central School District Class of 1975 celebrated its 50th reunion in July of 2025, with more than 100 classmates, spouses, and guests attending the dinner, dance, and the Ismailia Shriners Temple in West Seneca. As part of the celebration, the Class of 1975 collected funds to support Boys and Girls Club of Elma, Marilla, and Wales, an organization that has been part of the community since 1974. The club began in the basement of the school and has since moved to the current location of Girdle Road in Elma, where it is continued support for local youth through the wide range of programs and activities. The donation was made in honor of the class of 1975 graduates, including those who are no longer with us, to help ensure and their continued support for today's youth and for generations to come. Our next headline: Parents Course to Understand an IEP. The Patient Network of Western New York is offering an in-person seminar from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. Tuesday, March 3rd at the Harold O. Bermstead Elementary School, located at 173 Canada Street. That's 173 Canada Street, Holland, regarding individual educational plans, or IEPs. This training will provide assistance to gain foundational understanding of the IEP process, including but not limited to the Community of Special Education, or CSE, roles and responsibilities of all parties and other various components, including transitions planning. To register for this free event, call 716-332-4170. That's 716-332-4170. Or email info@parentnetworkwny.org. That's info, PARENTNET, work, WNY.org. Events at the Elma Library. The following events will take place in Elma Public Library at 1860 Bowen Road in Elma. Register for classes by calling the library at 716-652-2719. That's 716-652-2719. The vet is in. Bring a favorite stuffy to a stuffed animal check-up clinic under the supervision of a doctor. Children can perform a full examination, complete with x-rays, height, weight checks, and more, from 3:30 to 5:50 p.m. on Thursday, February 19th. Story time with the missus. Join Miss New York for a story time that celebrates kindness, community, and the power each child has to make the world a little bit brighter. Children will also be making kindness cards. This program is scheduled for 10:30 a.m. Friday, February 20th, for 3 to 7-year-olds, but other age children are welcome as well. Monday mocktails. Bring your favorite book, bling it up with some diamond art at 6 p.m. Monday, February 23rd. Refreshments will be provided. Teens and adults are always welcome. Cookbook Club. Cookbook Club will meet on 6 p.m. Wednesday, February 25th, to discuss the Princess Bride, the official cookbook. With fellow foodies, cookbook enthusiasts, browse the book and sign up at the front desk. Rohrbach and Donovan on the Dean's List. Donovan Rohrbach on East Aurora Summer. Nathan Rohrbach of East Aurora and Samuel Donovan of Elma have been named on the Dean's List in the fall of 2025 semester at the Hartwick College, have earned a grade point average of 3.5. McDonald on the President's List. James McDonald of East Aurora has been named the Plymouth State University President's List for fall of 2025 semester. Has achieved a grade point average of 3.7. McDonald is majoring in chemistry. Bellinger and Dorchek on the Dean's List. Sadie Bellinger of East Aurora and Katie Dorchek of Elma have earned a grade point average of 3.25 or higher, have been named the Fall 2025 Dean's List at the University of Albany. Cubans graduates. Eric Cubans of East Aurora earned a Bachelor's of Science of Children and Education, grades 1 through 6, during the fall commencement held on Sunday, December 7th, 2025. You are now listening to a reading of articles and features on the East Aurora Advertiser on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. It is 14 minutes past the hour. Our next headline: Commission seeks input from trustees. How should village community members weigh manufacturing versus senior housing priorities? By Sean Cunningham, staff reporter. Changes to an application regarding a proposed housing development on Quaker Road have development have promoted the Village Planning Commission to seek more clarity from the Village Board regarding its priorities with respect to the development of Commerce Green. The Young Development Corporation originally submitted an application for minor subdivision approval and rezoning of property 270 Quaker Road from general manufacturing to general residential, seeking to build a 120-unit multifamily housing development. At the January meeting, Commission members of the public raised concerns over the project's impact on the infrastructure, utilities, traffic, and the environment. Commission members also said that they are struggling with a rezoning of the property and reaffirming of the general manufacturing zones in the village's 2019 updated zoning map. Quote, we went completely back to the drawing board and have to change this project, Sean Hopkins said, who is the attorney for the applicant. The applications for the minor subdivision and property rezoning remain the same, but the outcome of the proposed budget now focuses on senior housing. The two-story building will consist of 118 units, a combination of both one and two-bedroom apartments. It will be limited to residents who are 55 years or older. All apartments will be listed at a market rate. Proposed amenities will include laundry hookups, large kitchens, central air conditioning, and 9-foot ceilings. Proposed senior amenities will include one large community room, an exercise room, a library, and walking trails. All units proposed to be pet-friendly. The building will be equipped with a sprinkler system, includes elevators, and the complex will be outfitted with a dark sky compliant lighting. Hopkins said that the two informational meetings were held for interested parties, including but not limited to one of the Aurora senior centers. Quote, we think we have made an effort to listen, Hopkins said. We think the senior housing is our strong demand. Vice Chair of Commission Dale Morris questioned the walkability of the project into the village. Hopkins said that the applicants would consider working with the village and New York Department of Transportation on the ways to improve the pedestrian travel in the village. I think this will be properly zoned. This will be in a properly zoned area. This would have a very easy passage, Commissioner Member Gregory Hines said. Hines said that the concern is mainly surrounded by rezoning of the property. Hines said that the shared of documents that outline this issue he had with the process. In conclusion, the document states that the rezoning of the project is parcel specific, inconsistent with the comprehensive plan, deliberate intentions of the general manufacturing, and unsupported by the village-wide policy change to which it believes constituents spot zoning. Quote, if we have to get past that, I am totally for this. One of the other possibilities that the applicant said they have considered if the project is unsuccessful is to consider a self-storage facility, which would be allowed in the general manufacturing zone. Hines said that it was opposed to this, seeing that there is some sort of project in the area. Quote, there are not too many shovels and ready sites in this county that have water, sewer, and road access. All these things that this site actually has. Commission member Daniel Castle said, I'm uncomfortable bailing on the fact that we are having to zone for 20-something years. It just seems to me that there would be more interest in it, if there was at all, marketed for what this zone was intended for. Hopkins said he believes in light industrial manufacturing doesn't bring in jobs that it used to. Castle said he would like to hear an input from the village board members regarding their thoughts on the competing concerns moving forward over the encouraging industrial manufacturing and development of senior housing. That's a policy decision, Castle said. Castle said he believes that the policy should be driven by the elected officials. Are they going to open up this kind of pivot to Commerce Green? Castle also recommended having public hearing on weighing in the manufacturing of senior housing at the March 3rd meeting. I don't want to delay anything else because I know delay is money, but we get one chance to make this right, said Castle. No members on the public spoke regarding on this change proposal. In a letter to the village board dating Thursday, February 5th, Morris requested a meeting between two entities to discuss whether the board wants to continue to promote light industrial manufacturing usage in the village versus a more active promotion of senior housing. While the letter references a current application as being a catalyst for the discussion, the intent of the commission is not to discuss the specific project proposal, but to get a better sense of the policy preferences of the village board. With respect to the comprehensive plan, representatives from the planning commission have asked to be included on the village of Tuesday, February 17th plan's agenda for the discussion to take place. The Village Planning Commission is slated to meeting again at 7 p.m. Tuesday, March 3rd at the Aurora Municipal Center on Oakwood Avenue. Our next headline, Aurora Police Report, Accident Leads to DWI Charges. A 47-year-old man from the town of Aurora was charged with a DWI following a property damage accident that occurred on Falls Road at 5:30 p.m. on Saturday, February 7th. According to the report, a vehicle was in the ditch off the roadway. The driver was identified by the New York State driver's license, and he was showing signs of intoxication. When asked, the subject stated that he was coming from a bar on Glenwood Road and stated that he had one shot of alcohol. After failing standard field sobriety tests, he was arrested and transported to the station for processing. A vehicle inventory was conducted, and the vehicle was towed from the scene. A 12-hour hold was placed on it. The subject was asked 3 times to submit a breathalyzer test, declining each time. In addition to the DWI that was subject to charge with a failure to use a designated lane, speeding, and operating a motor vehicle without an inspection certificate, no property damage was observed. Suspicious incident. A walk-up complaint of a possible lewd act was made after an incident that occurred on 1 p.m. Tuesday, January 13th. According to the report, a 28-year-old female was listed as a victim, so that she was a new client that arrived to her business who had scheduled a massage. The victim stated that upon the arrival of the 55-year-old man from Cowsville, he was instructed to go into the massage room, remove the necessary clothing, and place himself on the massage table, and specifically under the sheet on the table. When the victim walked into the massage room, she observed the subject was fully naked on top of the sheet, and he was instructed to be concealed by. Then the subject stood up, fully exposing himself, and stated, "It's okay that you're here." The subject was told by the victim that he was to be face down on the table under the sheet, to which the subject reported, "Oh, you don't do that here, do you?" The subject ultimately covered himself with the sheet and was instructed as instructed. The victim stated that he was unsure of what exactly the subject's intentions were. Additionally, the subject made further unusual comments and made the victim feel uncomfortable, to the point where she needed to end the session 15 minutes early. The victim advised that she would block the subject from booking any more sessions. She advised that she liked the subject to trespass if he were to return. The victim was told that the subject would be contacted and advised that he was no longer allowed on the property. The victim was recommended to install additional security as a precautionary measure. Grand larcenies. A 61-year-old female of West Falls reported to be a victim of fraud following the incident that occurred on around Friday, January 23rd. According to the report of the victim that had multiple fraudulent charges on her credit card totaling up to $10,500, the victim stated that she realized that the issues that were on her card when she attempted to use her card on Tuesday, February 3rd, and it was declined without reason. The victim was able to contact her credit card company but could not get any information as to which card was showing that the account was closed on Saturday, January 31st. The victim was unaware of these charges and with the information that was not accessible of the account being closed. The card showed that there were 13 new charges. The victim was advised to monitor the credit lines and personal bank fraud for further fraudulent charges. The victim is working with the bank for reinstitution of credit card statements. In an unrelated incident, a 89-year-old man from East Aurora reported to be a victim of fraud at 1 p.m. on Thursday, January 29th. According to the report, the victim stated that on 2 separate dates, checks were cashed from his account without his authorization, totaling $35,000. The checks had different dates and were cashed at 2 separate places and 2 separate receipts that the victim did not know. The first check was written in total of $16,600 on September 2nd, 2025, and the second check was cashed on September 30th, 2025. The victim stated that the signatures on both checks were forged. The victim reported that the check written for a payment was stolen after it was delivered to the Elma Post Office, which was redacted by the M&T Bank. The victim stated that he was notified by the bank's fraud department that shortly after the check was stolen, an individual arrived at the Orchard Park branch and attempted to access the victim's checking account and was able to provide the victim's social security number. The victim worked with the bank to receive new account numbers once the original check was stolen, but it was unknown how the subject was able to have access and write 2 fraudulent checks from the victim's savings account. The victim was advised to monitor the transactions and credit card reports moving forward to be aware of fraudulent checks and charges. The investigation remains pending. Unwelcome guest. A report of a possible intruder had been hiding in a residence was reported on 11:30 a.m. Saturday, January 31st. According to the report, a 24-year-old female of East Aurora stated that she had heard a noise coming from the basement of the residence and that no one is supposed to be inside the residence. A search of the basement had conducted. Human hair was observed to be shown underneath the multiple blankets stacked in the corner of the room behind the bed. A hand was observed as the individual was ordered to show her hands. The individual was verbally ordered to show her hands multiple times while being held at gunpoint, to which the individual then complied. The subject was successfully detained and identified as a 35-year-old female from Buffalo. The subject stated that she picked up her romantic partner, a 35-year-old man whose information is listed at the residence of the incident of the previous night. He reportedly allowed her to stay on the premises. The subject stated that she has stayed at the residence multiple times in the past, but stated when the complaint of herself did not get along, the complaint notified police. The owners of the property, a 52-year-old male and the romantic partner, was contacted and stated that the subject did not have a permission to be there, but she has been there in the past. There is no longer a want of the subject on the property. The subject was advised that she is no longer allowed on the property in the future, which she completely acknowledged. A courtesy ride was provided for her to the subject to the station, where she obtained a ride. A use of force form was completed. Unlicensed driver. A 41-year-old man from Holland was charged with an aggravated unlicensed operation of a motor vehicle in the 3rd degree, following the traffic stop on the Route 400 at 7 p.m. on Saturday, January 31st. According to the report, a vehicle was traveling on southbound. A DMV inquiry revealed that the vehicle had been expired. Had been expired inspections on December 31st, 2025. A traffic stop was initiated. The subject was identified his Washington driver's license. A DMV inquiry revealed that the operator to show the status of a suspended revoked in the 3rd degree. The subject was placed under arrest under process roadside. The subsequent DMV inquiry revealed that the subject to have an active bench warrant with the town of Lancaster Police Department. The subject was turned over to the Lancaster Police Department without incident. You are listening to an article of features from the East Aurora Advertiser on the Niagara Frontier radio reading service. It is 29 minutes past the hour. Continuing on, trespassing. A physical altercation was reported at a bar on Main Street at 2 a.m. Saturday, February 7th. Upon arrival, the 24-year-old male of Williamsville was standing outside bleeding from the nose. He initially reported that he was inside the bar when he was punched in the face and had his phone taken. The subject reportedly stated he only wanted his phone back. According to the report, the 42-year-old female from East Aurora listed witness stated that the subject was saying profanity and antagonizing other customers at the bar. The subject was asked to leave the bar. The subject reported returning, initiating even a physical altercation that forced him to back out of the bar. The subject was hitting the nose, causing it to bleed. It was unclear at the time who was responsible for hitting the subject at the restaurant that did not have any footage of the fight, and the subject could not identify who hit him. After talking to the subject a second time, the subject stated that he had started an altercation initially. He denied any medical attention. The subject and the 21-year-old male from Williamsville were given a courtesy transport to the station to wait for a ride. Petty larceny. A shoplifting complaint was made on Gray Street at a Gray Street store at 11:30 a.m. Sunday, February 8th. Upon arrival, the 56-year-old male store manager stated that he was observing and pushing a cart of Red Bull and ensured to leave the aisle and began walking immediately toward the exit doors at the front of the store. The subject walked past all points of payment without purchasing any items in said cart. The employee then yelled at the subject to stop. The subject reportedly looked back at the employee and began to walk even faster. The employee ran and grabbed hold of the subject's cart just outside the store's easternmost exit doors. The employee observed a duffel bag reportedly belonging to the subject, which was filled with cans of Red Bull. The employee dumped the bag into the cart and the subject retrieved the empty bag. The subject then got into the vehicle before immediately departing the parking lot. The employee took a video of the vehicle and its license plate. The description of the vehicle was also given. The employee was unsure if the subject had any merchandise concealed in his coat. However, it was believed that most of the merchandise was recovered. The merchandise stolen was over $300. The employee stated that the store would pursue charges and a signed document by him he was secured. An inquiry revealed that the license plate to be stolen out of the city of Buffalo, April of 2025. The employee was advised of the status and said plates provided and forward all the video footage for the subject to parole. In case forwarded to Detective Bureau for the follow-up. Investigation is now pending. The East Aurora Police report is intended to provide information about the local law enforcement and activity using data provided by the East Aurora Police Department. Suspects' names are withheld from the blotter, and Advertiser did not usually provide coverage of the courts investigating on these blotter items. Our next headline: Fire destroys home on Bowen Road. The Town Line Fire Department was dispatched at 2 p.m. Thursday, February 5th to 3803 Bowen Road for a report of a fire inside the residence with flames and smoke showing. Mutual aid was reported from the Lancaster Fire Department for one engine, and a fast team was requested from the Town District Volunteer Fire Company. Officers from Lancaster Police Department were first on location and reported a structure was fully engulfed in flames, and the structure was fully involved and all the residents had been evacuated. Mutual aid was requested from Lancaster, Alden, Bowmansville, and Millsgrove Fire Departments. Town Line Squad 7 was called to respond to manpower and a trailer to help to transport hundreds of feet of the frozen hose back to the station to thaw and replace on the rigs. Due to the fire load upon arrival and despite the efforts of everyone on the scene, the house was deemed a total loss. After 8 hours in the bitter cold and climbing through the snow and ice, the Town Line Volunteer Fire Department was back in service at 10 p.m. Firefighters then returned to the station, unfreeze and reload the house used to get all the rigs back in service, leaving the station after midnight. One firefighter from a mutual aid department was transported to ECMC with broken ribs. The cause of the fire is still under investigation. Our next headline: Red Cross assist in Holland. The Holland Fire Department responded to a 10:30 p.m. On Tuesday, February 3rd, to a house fire on Vermont Hill Road that affected one of the department's volunteers and his family. The Red Cross began assisting the family the day after the fire. The family is in need of clothing and pantry staples. All donations can be dropped off at the fire hall at 49 North Main Street in Holland. There is a large bin outside of the front doors to ensure the lid is closed after every donation. For more information, please call the Holland Fire Department at 716-537-9443. That's 716-537-9443. Fire on Seneca Street is under investigation. At 2:45 p.m. February 2nd, Springbrook Fire Department was dispatched to a structure fire at 6400 block on Seneca Street. Upon arrival, first units on the scene found heavy smoke showing from the front door of the residential structure. Firefighters initiated an attack on the fire, bringing it under control within minutes. Command reported to the fire was out of overhaul operations had begun at 3:07 p.m. Ventilation and roof operations were conducted to check on the fire for extension to the second floor of the structure. No extension was found. No occupants of the structure was injured. One cat was removed from the structure and provided care by the ambulance at the scene. No injuries were sustained by fire personnel. The cause of the fire is being investigated by Erie County Sheriff's Office. Additional updates will be provided as more information becomes available. The following agencies assisted or were present during the incident: Springbrook, Jameson Road, East Seneca, Blossom, East Aurora, South Line, Erie County Sheriff's Office, AMR, Erie County Department of Homeland Security, Erie County Highway, Town of Alma, Water, National Fuel, and NYSEG. Horses rescued after falling through the ice. The East Aurora Fire Department successfully rescued two horses that fell through the ice on a pond on Richter Road at 8 p.m. Monday, February 9th. The horses were discovered by the owner to have escaped from the barn and fenced pasture and located to a short time and later on the pond. Upon arrival, the East Aurora Fire Chief Bruce Ross found both horses partially submerged up to their necks after the ice gave way beneath them. Ross requested assistance from the Orchard Park Fire District and rescue team, using specialized ice rescue equipment and trained personnel to respond workers to guide the horses to safety. After the rescue, upset horses were evaluated by the owners and were reported to be in a good health. Further care was coordinated with the owner's veterinary office. The East Aurora Fire Department would like to thank East Aurora Police Department and the Orchard Park Fire Department and ice rescue teams for their rapid response and expertise, as well as all personnel involved for their professionalism and teamwork under challenging conditions. Erie County Sheriff's report: driver in Alma transported to ECHC. Erie County Sheriff's Department responded to a call on February 1st to a driver who was reportedly slumped over the wheel after driving erratically through the neighborhood of Clinton Street in Alma. The driver was evaluated by EMS on the scene and a firearm was found in the vehicle. The firearm was collected as the evidence and the driver was transported to Erie County Holding Center pending arrangement on charges. In other area calls handled by the Erie County Sheriff's Department, deputies of the Clarence and Alma substation. January 29th, one vehicle accident occurred on Bullis Road in Alma. The driver was transported to a local hospital for further treatment of their injuries, and the vehicle was towed from the scene. A two-vehicle accident happening in the parking lot of the business of Broadway Street in Village of Alden. Both vehicles received minor damage and no injuries were reported. A resident of Hem Street Road in Marilla reported an odor of smoke coming from the residence. A Marilla Fire Department has evaluated and cleaned the house, but everything appeared to be in order. January 30th. A two-vehicle accident happened on Bowen Road in Alma. No injuries were reported, and both vehicles were driven from the scene. A barn fire occurred at Centerline Road in Wales. The fire was extinguished and the scene was turned over to the Erie County Sheriff's fire investigators. A resident on South Protection Road in Holland reported a suspicious person who observed on a front porch. The subject left in a vehicle in a short time later. The person was located, and it was determined that they were looking for someone else's phone. People were advised about the ongoing civil dispute, including involving posted signs on the property on East Wood Road in Marilla, January 31st. A two-vehicle accident occurred on North Protection Road in Holland. Minor property damage occurred on both vehicles were towed from the scene. February 1st, a one-vehicle accident occurred on Two Broad Road in Marilla, where a utility pole was struck. The vehicle was towed from the scene, and the electric company was notified for the repairs. February 2nd, a second vehicle was struck at the utility pole on Transit Road in Elma. No injuries were reported, and the vehicle was driven from the scene. February 3rd, a resident of the Seneca Street in Elma reported items found missing after a residential fire while doing a walkthrough with their insurance company. A residential structure fire happened on Vermont Hill Road in Holland. The residents evacuated and the fire department extinguished the fire. The scene was turned over to the Erie County Sheriff's Office for fire investigators. February 4th, traffic control was provided after a vehicle went off the highway on Two Broad Road in Marilla. The vehicles were removed from the incident and the roadway was reopened. Detectives from the Erie County Sheriff's Office, fire investigation, and state-mandated reports of second-degree burns received during an incident at the Wendy Correctional Facility. The Sheriff's report is intended to provide information about the local enforcement and activity using data provided by the Erie County Sheriff's Office. The Sheriff's Office does not usually include the names of subjects in their reports. Our next headline: Frozen Gold, Ice Fishing, Lake Erie for Winter Walleye and Perch. 0 degrees, a steady 20-mile-an-hour wind, ice cracking somewhere far out of the lake. Brrr. To some folks, that sounds like a perfect excuse to stay inside. To lake house ice anglers, it sounds like an opportunity. Because of the eastern basin of Lake Erie doesn't freeze very often, to allow safe angler access when it happens, it is the hottest cold weather adventure around the local hardy anglers. When the eastern basin finally freezes, anglers who have access to the lake from Sturgeon Point of Dunkirk know that they're stepping onto something special. The end of the Lake Erie is deep, much deeper than the western basin, and the depth is exactly why the safe ice is rare, treasured, and worth waiting for. The lake doesn't lock up here every winter, but when it does, it delivers memorial fishing and experience that is hard to explain until you've finally lived it. Safety is always of top consideration on the eastern basin. Experienced anglers are patient and cautious, waiting for a solid stretch of cold weather and consistently thick ice before being ventured out. 5 to 7 inches of good ice is the bare minimum for many anglers to prefer, but many anglers preferred more. A spud bar is important as a fishing rod, and it's used often. Checking ice thickness every few steps, especially when moving away from the shore. Many anglers wear floating suits. Most angler will fish with a partner, wear ice cleats for traction, and really rely on the flotation suits that provide warmth and add a layer of protection. Ice picks hang around their necks and help everyone keeps a respectful distance from others on the ice. Pressure cracks currents in areas near points of old structures can change really quickly, and local knowledge goes a long way. When someone doesn't feel right, the rule is simple: turn around. The lake will still be there tomorrow. Once safely set up, the focus shifts from caution to comfort. Staying warm is less about toughness and more about preparation. Anglers dressed in layers, starting with the moisture-wicking base layers and finishing with a wind-blocking outerwear. Insulated boots, wool socks, and pocket hand warmers to keep the hands and toes fully functional. You're now listening to articles of features in the East Aurora Advertiser on the Niagara Frontier radio reading service. 44 minutes past the hour. Let's continue on. Gas-powered all-terrain vehicles are a godsend as the portable shelters, which were game changers whether it's flipped over sled or hub-style shanty, blocking the wind making all the difference. Add a small propane heater with a built-in carbon monoxide detector, and suddenly a brutal winter day feels downright pleasant. Inside the shelter, gloves comes off, coffee stays hot, and the lake feels a lot less intimidating. Below the ice is the eastern basin delivers the real payoff. Yellow perch and the usual stars of the show, often caught using jigging spoons tipped with the emerald shiners of or soft plastics, even when a school moves through the action, can easily be steady and exciting with a thick, healthy perch coming topside. Walleye and other prize catch, especially during a low light periods in the early mornings of late afternoons, jigging swim baits, blade baits, and live minnows set just off the bottom are popular choices. Modern electronics help anglers track the depth and mark fish moving beneath the ice, turning guesswork into strategy. Several groups of anglers have been going out from the Sturgeon Point. The parking lots and the marina are full on trucks and ATV trailers, most of them accessing to the lake with some type of power people mover with a sled of gear towed behind. Some of the anglers walked out of the Xavier Santos 2 days ago. He set out quite an adventure. He added, "It's not very often Lake Erie is ice fishable, so I had to jump on the opportunity. I set out for my first ever time on the frozen Lake Erie. Originally, I was supposed to fish with a couple of buddies, but life happens, and I set off well before sunrise. In the dark, with my flashlight, by myself, walking. I walked nearly 3.5 miles to an area where some buddies did well yesterday. It took about an hour and 45 minutes walking through the trail, through the jagged ice mountains. I drilled a few holes when I marked the fish. I set up the hut. The fish took some convincing at first, but once I dialed it in, I was able to put 3 walleyes on the ice, plus 1 jumbo perch. I had hooked 8 walleyes altogether. I believe I had 3 or 4 other perch on briefly as well. Speechless, to say the least. What a first time on frozen Lake Erie. Santos gave a huge shout out to Johnny Rosado and his buddy for his ride back, exclaiming, "You guys saved my legs! Wow! What an experience. This could be a really great movie," Santos said. "I like to start on the trail from Dunkirk, where you only get out about a mile and a half instead of the 3.5 miles to find fish. Still, not everything is about the bite. There's something special about standing in frozen Lake Erie, watching the sunrise over a vast of white horizon, hearing the distant pops and groans of shifting ice. Conversations drift from between shelters. Some laughs when a rod tip dances, flags pop, stories grow bigger as the day goes on. That's part of people missing their scuff of the ice fishing in 0-degree weather. It's not about ensuring the cold. It's about embracing the moment. It's quiet, socially, and oddly peaceful, with the promise of fresh fish and unforgettable memories. All that said, watch the weather, listen to the advice from those with experience, and don't fish alone. So yes, the wind howls and the temperatures bite, but on the right day when the eastern basin finally gives anglers safe access to Sturgeon Point or Dunkirk, there's no place they'd rather be. Because sometimes the coldest adventures turn out to be the warmest ones of all. The sad news coming soon. It's going to warm up. Gotta love outdoors. Outdoor calendar. February 13th through the 16th. Great Backyard Bird Count, a global citizen science event. Visit Merlin Bird ID online. MERLIN Bird ID. February 14th, WNY Walleye Fishermen's Market from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. Knights of Columbus at 36 Pierce Avenue in Hamburg. For more information, call Chris Kemp at 716-400-9258. That's Chris Kemp at 716-400-9258. Or Jim Polensky at 716-861-8817. Jim Polensky at 716-861-8817. February 14th and 15th, free fishing weekend in New York State. No license required for residents and non-residents. February 15th, WNY 3D Archery League. Winter archery open to the public, $15 per shooter. This week, the archery takes place at West Falls Conservation at 55th Street at West Falls. For more information, call Brent Wanglin at 716-725-5822. That's Brent Wanglin at 716-725-5822. February 17th, Children in the Stream, Youth Fly Fishing Program, free, Costello Room at Rockefeller Art Center, SUNY Fredonia, from 7 to 8:30 p.m. 12 years old or older. For more information, call Alberto Rey at 716-410-7003. That's Alberto Rey at 716-410-7003. February 17th, Erie County Fish Advisory Board monthly meeting. Bison City Rod and Gun Club at 511 Ohio Street in Buffalo at 7 p.m. Open to the public. February 19th, South Towns Walleye Association of Western New York monthly meeting at 7 p.m. at 5895 Southwestern Boulevard in Hamburg. February 19th to the 22nd, the Greater Niagara Fishing Expo in Niagara Falls. Over 200 seminars. Visit www.niagarafishingexpo.com. That's niagarafishingexpo.com. Legislator Lagaro delivers Valentine's made by students. Erie County Legislator Lindsay Lagaro delivered Valentine's Day cards to local seniors through her Valentine's for Seniors program. The initiative that connects elementary and middle school students with seniors by sharing handmade Valentine's Day cards with senior centers, assisted living facilities, and adult day program through the 10th Legislative District. Quote, our seniors are thrilled to receive handmade Valentine cards from Legislator Lagaro, Donna Proctor said, who is the director of the Aurora Senior Center. She spends time with handing them out and listening to our members' concerns. The participating schools include East Aurora Montessori School, Holland Middle, Harold O. Bumstead Elementary, Elma Primary, Iroquois Immediate, Wales Primary, Parkdale Elementary, Aurora Wardolph Schools, and others. Our next headline, the Springbrook Fire District reorganizes for 2026. The Springbrook Board of Fire Commissioners recently congratulated Mike Samal on his 20-plus year of service to the district in the capacity of the Fire Commissioner. Thank you, Mike Samal, for all the dedication and hard work, officials said in the press release. Tom Mene was voted in a Fire Commissioner starting January 1st and ending December 31st, 2030. The Springbrook Board of Commissioners also announced the 2026 truck room officers are as Tyler Tedesco as Fire Chief, Mike Fitzgerald Assistant Fire Chief, Santo Tedesco Second Assistant Fire Chief, Paul Maman First Fire Captain, Mike Fagan Second Fire Captain, Andy Barlow First Rescue Captain, Rob Saluri Second Rescue Captain, Katie Spencer Line Secretary. Quote, we wish the 2026 truck room officers as much as they provide EMS and fire protection to their community and serve the Springbrook Fire Department and providing assistance to the surrounding communities, said the press release. Our last article is a Dear Editor. Nick Langworthy is not transparent, from Tom Greer of Elma. Dear Editor, in 2023, our useless Congressman Langworthy said, quote, our work on House Oversight Committee produced evidence that President Biden continually lied to the American people and his involvement in his family's shady business dealings. We've uncovered millions in foreign money to various Biden family members, and we know President Biden was involved in meeting with Hunter's foreign business ties. I look forward to working with my colleagues on an oversight committee under the exemptional leadership of Chairman Comore to bring transparency and accountability to this administration. Ah, yes, transparency and accountability to this administration. All of those investigations into millions of foreign monies, and nothing was ever found. Langworthy was all about transparency and accountability just a short couple of years ago. And yet, we now have the current president creating shadow lawsuits against his federal IRS and Treasury agencies, settling internationally and internally by himself, funneling a payout to himself of $10 billion. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent has confirmed that if a president is paid $10 billion, that it will come from the U.S. taxpayers through the Treasury's General Fund. Could you imagine Langworthy's zeal of transparency if this same scenario had played out just 2 years ago? What we now do not have to imagine is Langworthy's silence as it's defending, I guess, billions in corruption and stolen taxpayer funds is okay, as long as it's within Langworthy's own party. That was a Dear Editor. Langworthy is not transparent from Tom Grier of Elma. And you've been listening to a reading of articles and features from the February 12th, 2026 issue of the East Aurora Advertiser. We read the East Aurora Advertiser every Saturday at 10 a.m. Your reader today has been me, Brian Mendola. Thank you for listening, and thank you for listening to the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service at 1199 Harlem Road in Buffalo, New York, 14227. Give us a call, 716-821-5555. That's 716-821-5555. Our radio reading studios are located at 1199 Harlem Road, giving the blind a chance to read since 1987.
Coming up next on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service, we have a reading of the Niagara Gazette. At noon, we have the Dunkirk Observer. And at 1 o'clock, we have some of our Northtown Bees, including Amherst, Clarence, Cheektowaga, Lancaster, and Depew. Stay with us for these readings and more throughout the day. You're listening to the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. As of this year, our agency has broadcast more than 300,000 hours of radio readings. Volunteer radio readers read newspapers, magazines, and books to area people who are blind or have a print disability, who are provided reading radios. Radio Reading's broadcast signal is provided at no charge by WNED. Radio Reading broadcasts from studios at 1199 Harlem Road in suburban Buffalo. Please let others know about Radio Reading. It's your service. For more information on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service, call 716-821-5555. following program is intended for listeners who are blind, have low vision, or have another print